everyone. Welcome to the Dear Future Missionaries podcast. I'm your host, Zach Warner, and today we're having a little bit of a different episode because I'm here with a guest co-host, one of my best friends forever, we could even say, my good friend here, Zach Oseen. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, like Zach said, my name's Zach Oseen. I go to BYU, Idaho right now. I'm studying accounting. I've been home from my mission for like 10 and a half months. I served in the Zimbabwe Bulawayo mission, and yeah, I've been friends with Zach for as long as I can remember, and really I've been friends with Lindsey for as long as I can remember as well. So excited to be here.
We got the OG squad here today. And yeah, that brings us to the next point. We're here with our special guest, Lindsey Webster. We've known her for years. We went to elementary school together. Lindsey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, like they said, I'm Lindsey. I grew up here in Idaho Falls with them. Right now, I'm studying marketing and finance at Utah State in Logan. I'm just here for the summer back in Idaho Falls working. I served in the California San Bernardino mission, and I got back about 6 months ago. So,
cool. Tell us a little bit about your mission. What was it like?
Yeah, you kind of say, it's a stateside mission, so you kind of can expect what it'd be like, but also my mission was super diverse. There was like a ton of different cultures and things like that, but ultimately it was California, so it was super fun. I loved being in the United States, actually. I loved being able to kind of keep my same routine, but also continue to be able to serve others.
Cool. That's so awesome. What was your favorite part about serving the United States besides having all the United States things you had, I guess you could say?
That's kind of a tough one, but I think keeping my food the same a little bit.
Okay.
I could go to Chick-fil-A if I needed. I wasn't eating weird whatever, but it was so fun to be able to do that. And the people also, I was used to that culture and those people, so it was easier for me, I think.
Cool. Yeah.
I don't know. So how was the work, Lindsey? Tell us a little bit about what an average day in Lindsey Webster's shoes would look like as a sister missionary.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. Obviously, we woke up and we started at 6:30, like every other missionary, and you do your morning things, and then you do your personal study and all the things. And in my mission, we were out at 11 o'clock. My mission present was huge and being out all day long. And we just continued to find and have lessons and do whatever that consisted of. Knocking doors, talking to people. Something that was huge in my mission for finding is we invited every single person that we saw to church. And because of that, they felt so included to come. And we had little cards that we wrote the address and our phone number, and that allowed so many people to feel so welcome. Because it was a personal invite, and that allowed us to find a lot. And as we knocked doors, and we did a ton of service, actually. Mm-hmm. And service, that kind of consisted of, sometimes we'd go to ranches and do stuff on ranches. Sometimes there was a lot of refugees that came to California. So in one of my areas, this member, she kind of created this business that was all volunteer work, and we'd go and repair furniture. And then we would help these refugees come into America. And then a lot of times the Spanish-speaking missionaries got to end up teaching them. And it was super cool to see so many families come into the gospel through that.
That's super cool.
So,
how many lessons a day did you think you taught on average? Or maybe even how many lessons a week? I think that's better.
a week? Probably, I don't know. That's kind of hard because it always depends on your area, but I would say 20 maybe.
Okay.
3 to 5 a day.
Okay, super cool.
So I guess it might be more than 20. I don't know. But we always had a member with us. We tried to.
Oh, yeah, that's
nice.
Yeah.
How was the church there? Were the members pretty... I know it varies by area and stuff, but is the church... I imagine since it's in California and it's stateside, is it pretty dang developed? Did you have, all stakes and wards, or did you have branches and districts as well?
Yeah, we had all wards, except for the Spanish-speaking missionaries. A lot of them were in branches just because it is California. But yeah, we had 10 stakes in my mission.
Dang, that's crazy.
And individual wards in each one of them. And so it was super cool to be able to see the members come together and rally together and make the work happen.
So did you cover did you and your companionship cover one ward, or would you be over a couple of wards?
We'd just cover one ward. So our entire zone was within the stake, and a zone is like a group of missionaries that covered that.
Cool. Yeah, it was similar to my mission. I don't know. I guess you had like districts.
Man, I had everything.
You had the groups.
I kind of. I mean, we can talk about my mission a different time, but I was kind of out in the Wild West of missionary work. So,
Dang, that's crazy. I guess you guys can see like the contradictions between super developed church and because it's like a big pocket. I don't know. I just have a lot of friends at school that they're from that area. It's like a big pocket of members, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, my mission actually had a temple, and we were able to go because there were so many members that were able to do that.
you had the Redlands Temple, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you take like people learning about the church to the temple and stuff? Did they have a visitor center too?
We didn't have a visitor center, but if you were in the area where it was, the zone where the temple was, you could go and do temple tours for lessons, and that helped us
So
a ton.
awesome.
And then as soon as our friends became members, we got to take them to do baptisms, and then that really helped them like see the end goal and continue to progress within the
It's a
gospel.
lot better than a pamphlet. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm so
I
jealous.
had to whip
of that.
out the pamphlet all the time. It was like, dang, bro.
That's such
not
a
the
huge
same.
advantage, honestly, having a temple and being like, well, that's where you can end up. That's.
Well, I think there's nothing cooler than watching like somebody that just joined the church walk into the temple and be like, wow, like it's so pretty in here, and then see them go get baptized for their mom and then be like, well, my family could be together forever, and really seeing like Jesus Christ like helping their family come together. There's just something special about it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's very cool.
I'm curious. I just always think it's fun because I feel like on your mission, you start and you just like kind of teach what your trainer tells you to teach or what Preach My Gospel tells you to teach. What was something awesome that you found out like, oh, this is what the people want to hear? Like, was there something specific that you just love to teach to the people?
That's another good question, and I think it goes back to the temple of ultimately the plan of salvation, but the biggest part of that, them being able to be with their families forever. Because I think people know that there's life after this life, but they don't realize that they can be together forever.
Yeah, that's cool. That is like the coolest thing to teach, honestly, because I mean, no other church really goes into the specifics of it.
Yeah.
On my mission, I used to hear people say like, "Yeah, my family will be forever," and you're like, "How?"
Exactly.
It's like only we can answer that.
Did you have a temple on your mission?
We did, but it was outside of the limits. So I only went once during my mission, and we couldn't take people. So, like, they would have to go on their own. But it was
I
awesome.
think that's like the power of teaching them like their promises that they get to make with God, like the covenants, because no other church really teaches you that you can have those promises with God and get promises in return and like blessings.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, Lindsey, I do have a question for you. Well, everybody knows missions are good for you, right? Everybody knows that you go on a mission and you grow and you mature, and that's pretty basic. To you personally, what was the biggest change your mission had on your life? Now that you're home and you've been home for like 6 months and you've readjusted at this point, I could say, what was the biggest impact your mission had on you that still stays with you to this day?
On truly understanding the atonement of Jesus Christ. I think before my mission, I was a member of the church, but was I really? I think I truly went to church for like the social aspect, and especially when I moved to college, I was like, there's no way I will ever serve a mission. And so I didn't really understand why we needed the gospel, and so truly understanding that like Christ suffered for me and he suffered for everyone, and so I get to have that with me throughout like every day of my life. And especially like if like I do little things wrong, like I can always come back, and so
That's cool. You don't have to get into details, but like, yeah, I remember when we were all in high school, you never said you wanted to serve a mission. So like, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I never heard you say
exactly
it one
right,
time.
yeah.
So you don't have to go into like the specific spiritual details, but like, what made you go at the end of the day? I was really surprised when I heard you were going. I was like, dang, that's crazy. I was stoked, of course. But I did not see it coming at all.
No, because I feel like a lot, like what Zach's saying, I feel like a lot of sister missionaries, like, don't know they want to serve, then they end up going. So yeah,
For us, it's just like
you kind of
for Zach and I, it was just like,
Yeah.
oh, I
serve
have
a
to.
mission,
Like
right? You serve
it's like a
mission.
commandment, is what I felt like. So how'd you get? I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, after I moved to college, I kind of stopped going to church because my parents weren't there to tell me to go to church. And I quickly realized that I wasn't as happy, and like everything that the gospel brings into your life was not there. And I kept always asking, like, why am I not as happy? And I realized, like, I'm not living the gospel. And then I had this thought, if I have this joy that others don't have, why can't, like, I should go share it? But like they said, they were surprised that I was going on a mission. I didn't tell anybody that I was submitting papers, and I did it in like 3 days. I came home for the weekend from college, and I told my bishop, I was like, let's just open it. And then a weekend later, I started to fill it out, and I told them again, I was like, if I don't submit this weekend, I won't submit at all, and I won't go. And so we made it happen, and we did it. And it was super surprising. And even going out, I was like, I really don't think this is it. And when my mission got hard, I'm like, dang it, I really made an impulsive decision. I'm like, but like, I was so glad I did it. And I think it made me love my mission more because I was learning along with the people.
Dang. That is really good. You learn so much. I think it's just kind of like funny because you go to the MTC and you think you know all these things, but at the end of the day, you're learning with everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Because the gospel's learned through experience. It's not, you can read the scriptures and stuff, but the scriptures, the entire point is just so that you can hear the Spirit and know what to do. Like the gospel's lived, not just learned about. That's so cool. Like, you just had to take a step of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if there's, to the camera, I'm going to say this. If you're not doing anything, like, why not serve a mission? That's my opinion.
Well,
Your life is so long. Why not do it?
Exactly. Like, you're not going to lose any time, and who cares? Also, you're just going to go have fun and serve others. You'll never get that time back to be so, like, involved in other people's lives with the atonement, other than when you serve a mission.
Yeah. So you talked about your mission being hard. Every mission's hard, right? I think that doesn't get pushed enough, personally. Like, I just think people need to know that missions are hard.
I don't know.
So what was hard for you about your mission? And how did you overcome some of those trials? Because eventually, I mean, you made it the full 18 months, so you eventually had to get easier, right? It had to get easier. So what made it hard, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I often think of sister missionaries. Sister missionaries missions. Is that right?
Yeah.
Anyway, like 3 different chunks, like 6 months, then your next 6 months, and then your last 6 months. And obviously that last 6 months, you're just kind of coasting. Like, you know what you're doing, you're having fun, you're just kind of in it. My first 6 months, and so I think the other 2 blocks of 6 months, your trials kind of changed. So for my first 6 months, I had throughout all my entire mission, I had a lot of companions struggle with mental health and go home. And it was really hard to see them leave something that they love and then go out. But then as I continued to progress, like in my mission, I think and obviously the homesickness and adjusting and all the things, but one of the biggest things that was so hard for me was watching people feel the Spirit and know that the gospel is true and still not accept it. And it was hard. And I think that's not emphasized enough because they never tell you in the MTC that people do that. They just say that they'll just reject you. But like, it's going back to learning with them. That was an experience for me that I'd never seen because growing up in Idaho Falls, everybody's members and everybody loves the gospel. But seeing somebody take it and learn it and feel the Spirit in their own home and still not let their daughter get baptized or still not let themselves get baptized is hard.
Yeah, that is tough. Just on that, like, you probably had a lot of experiences being able to, I mean, that's what you do, teach others and serve others. What's like your favorite experience that you go back to and think a lot about from your mission that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to work with a bunch of guys it was in Palm Springs, California, and it's like a vacation place. really. And there was a drug and alcohol recovery center there that people would go and they'd stay at for however long they needed. And there was an inactive member that came from Utah, and he showed up to church, and then a couple weeks later he brought like 5 guys with him. And it was so cool because from that time on we'd sit outside this drug and alcohol recovery place because we couldn't go in, and we would just talk about the gospel, talk about Jesus Christ, talk about the Book of Mormon. And they all came to realize that even though they had this burden of and like this addiction, they were able to overcome it because somebody else, like Jesus Christ, knew exactly what they were going through. And Chad ended up getting baptized, and Kenny, the inactive member that brought him to church, was able to like regain that membership to be able to baptize him. And it was so cool to watch. And
That's really cool. I'm just curious, what were some visible changes you saw in Chad's life? It can be like maybe he stopped some addictions or just something that you saw in him that changed.
Yeah, definitely he was able to overcome a lot of his addictions. And it was so cool because the first time we met him, he was so like down, and you could tell he's kind of discouraged. But then when we kept like talking to him, and not just us, but obviously the Spirit, but also the members around him were able to share their testimonies, he just was like, I'm not the only one. I have like this whole ward that's rallying around me to be able to help me. And also, like, every week I can take the sacrament to be able to like continue my progress. And so he just became happier.
So cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Lindsey, for sharing all those stories. I think the thing we can get away with all those stories is the gospel is a gospel change. Like, whether it's changing us, it's changing people like that. Dang.
I guess I have 2 questions for you. The first one, I know it's California, so I was reassigned in California. I mean, I was reassigned in Los Angeles for 3 weeks before I went to Zimbabwe. What would you have brought to California that, like, looking back, you're like, oh, I wish I would have brought that, if anything?
It's kind of hard because, like, my parents would Amazon me stuff and I'd have it in 10 hours.
Right.
Like, I didn't have a very hard, like, my living conditions weren't hard, which I'm so grateful for and I'm so blessed for. But I did see, like, a ton of humble conditions in that sense, too. But I think more, like, P-Day and service clothes. I didn't realize how much service I would do. And also, I'm in California. It's P-Day. We played a ton of pickleball, but I didn't realize I would. So.
Forget that you have fun under mission, too.
Yeah.
It's fun out there.
Not gonna lie, I balled out in soccer back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Got hit by a soccer ball 3 times. I was famous in the mission for that. In the face, I was the goalie.
Really?
It was pretty awesome. Yeah. That's a story for another time. But missions are for having fun, too.
And then my second question is, how did you see the Book of Mormon play a big role in missionary work? Because I know for me, the Book of Mormon was like, man, it was gold. I mean, they come from gold plates, but like, it was just so awesome.
Dude, no pun intended.
But
Wow.
how did you see the Book of Mormon change people? How did it help you? How did it change you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Whenever people ask me that, I always go back to in Mosiah when they're at the Waters of Mormon, and these people, like, the Waters of Mormon are so special to these people because they just made covenants. And because of that, like, this place became holy to them. And I always had the realization that I make these covenants, and every day I choose to keep up with them and keep going with them. And so, like, my life is holy, and especially, like, my mission is holy to me because that's where I came to know Jesus Christ truly. And for other people I was teaching and working with, they were able to see themselves within the Book of Mormon, and they were able to see that there's more than just the Bible. There's other people, and there's more world to see. So.
Lindsey, what advice, whether it's just one piece of advice or a lot of advice that you'd like to give, what advice would you like to give to our audience to close out?
I think the biggest thing is for me, so before I was getting ready to serve a mission, I was always prepared for the call, if that makes sense. Like, I was living a life that I could accept a call. And I think that's so important. Like, if you're not ready to accept the call, like there's so much help to be able to accept that call whenever you're ready and whenever that time is there, because you never know when it's going to be. And so just continuing to always learn more about Jesus Christ and his atonement and how it impacts you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We're just going to finish out then with our scripture of the week and talking about change. Let's talk about the man himself, King Benjamin. This is one of my favorite scriptures. It really teaches us the power of change. It's found in Mosiah 3:19, and it says, "For the natural man is an enemy to God, and has been from the fall of Adam, and will be forever and ever, unless he yields to the enticings of the Holy Spirit, and putteth off the natural man, and becometh a saint through the atonement of Christ the Lord, and becometh as a child, submissive, meek, humble, patient, full of love, willing to submit to all things which the Lord seeth fit to inflict upon him, even as a child doth submit to his father." Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you all next week.